Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, welcome aboard, welcome aboard, AVQ. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudnin. We have, of course, as well, Paul Fleming Sr. How are you doing, my brother? Welcome to Politics Done Right, as well as Yvette Avery Herod. Muchísimas gracias for being here, my dear, beautiful Yvette Avery Herod. I'm going to be a little bit messed up today. I got a toothache that started in the beginning of the week and didn't know it was going to progress so bad. It went horrendous last night, was a sleepless night. Woke up this morning, had to do my teledentist kind of a thing. They prescribe a whole ton of antibiotics as well as pain medicines. The pain medicines are not all that effective, so I am in excruciating pain. You don't know how painful a toothache can be until you have a toothache. Let me tell you that. You hear people complain, oh, it's real, it hurts. I'm trying to get excited so that I can forget about the pain. Lee Grant, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today? Egberto, you should be going to a dentist immediately. Well, I got to wait before I can see the dentist immediately. Anyhow, folks, how's everybody doing? Artis, Margaret, and Law, welcome to Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Anyhow, folks, you know, today I'm going to get to the stuff in a minute, but you know, guys, Elizabeth Warren died. Not Warren. Elizabeth QE2, Queen Elizabeth, kind of left the planet today. And, well, it's not the best thing, but let me tell you, I have some thoughts about that. And what I want to do is I want to just play a TikTok that I did today. And let me know what you guys think about it. Here's the deal. The human in me says, I feel for the family of the Queen. I feel that somebody is about to leave the earth, maybe. But other than that, I don't see the reason for the commotion about the Queen. And secondly, I don't think it is deserved. For most of the world's population, what used to be the Great Empire, United Kingdom, was not a positive thing. They came and conquered and killed and maimed to steal riches. That's the lineage of the family we are celebrating now. So why should most of the world be so enthralled that one of them's leaving the earth? I'm sorry. I just don't see it, and I think it's a danger to one's pride. Here's the deal. All right, that's the TikTok reel that I did today. I don't know how many of you think, but that's how I want to preface the subject that we're going to talk about. Anyhow, let me go ahead and start with Rudnin says, Egberto, time to go over the limit. Don't know which to cut. There are a few, I'll cut them in the middle where I can. But anyhow, Michael Rudnin says, this will likely be the first time, only time I talk about the British royalty. People magazine, Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning British monarch, dies at 96. The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. Buckingham Palace announced in official statement on Thursday, Queen Elizabeth is succeeded immediately by her eldest son, Prince Charles, 73, who will now be the monarch. Charles' firstborn son, William, who's 40, is now next in line, world's most famous throne, followed by his firstborn, Prince George IX. Her death followed her husband of 73 years, Prince Philip, who died at age 99. Michael Rudden says CNN, a Las Vegas public official, is held on open murder charge in connection with the killing of an investigative journalist, sheriff says. Clark County Public Administrator Robert Thales, 45, was arrested Wednesday in connection with the killing of Review Journal Jeff German, days after the reporter was found stabbed to death outside his home, officials said in news conference, echoing earlier reports by the newspaper that cited Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo. The killing raises questions about press freedom in America and has prompted anger in the newsroom of Las Vegas Review Journal. Jeff German had been working on a story about Robert Telles the week he was killed, according to the Review journalist. Earlier this year, Telles was the subject of articles that detail oversight of his office, and German reported Telles created a hostile work environment and carried on an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Remember when I said yesterday that the Isle de Jean Charles, Louisiana climate refugees are the first, but inevitably would not be the last. The climate refugees our nation sees, following up with Common Dreams and Washington Post, 650,000 homes. I saw that article. And other properties across millions of acres in the U.S. are projected to be at least partially submerged by seawater by 2050, according to a news analysis. I think it's going to be before that, with major implications not just for homeowners, but also public service in their communities, as tax base in hundreds of counties are expected. Continue. Next one, Jonathan Overpack, Great Lakes Peck tweeted, sea level rise continues is closer than we thought. 650 individual privately owned parcels across as many 4.4 million acres of land are projected to fall below changing tidal boundaries by 2050. In total, the United States loses 9.1 million acres by 2100. San Diego, third one, San Diego Union Tribune, San Diegans asked to conserve power for ninth day amid unrelenting heat. The California Independent System Operator at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday issued a flex alert for Thursday, which calls on customers to voluntarily reduce energy usage. Over the past 8 days, consumers have been asked to reduce powers from between 3 and 9 p.m. Millions of Californians receive messages on their cell phones Tuesday. We know that. Here's the funny part about it. With the Madden Dam, that's in Panama. What am I talking about? What was the Boulder Dam again on Lake Meads? Why can I remember Boulder Dam and I can't remember the correct name of it right now? Anyhow, the dam is going to be in trouble with giving water, and as that water level drops, it's currently producing 1/3 the power or something like that. You know, the energy crisis is going to just get worse in California. The water crisis, it's all going to hell. Anyway, another one from Michael Rudden says, Jackson. Hey, folks, if you're just coming on, please remember to give us that thumbs up so that this algorithm continues to work. And likewise on Facebook, please give us those likes. Jacksonville Progress poll, supermajority of Texans favor at least some abortion access. About 60% of Texas voters believe that abortion should be available in most cases, with only 11% of Texans stating they want abortions to be barred in all cases. Diana Limon Mercado, I interviewed her. You should look her up on my site because we've interviewed her before. Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Texas. Vote said the poll and recent wins for abortion rights advocates in Kansas and Alaska prove that the abortion stance taken by Republicans, including Texas leaders, is not in line with voters. Diana Limon Mercado said, this poll clearly demonstrates that we have honestly been saying for decades the opposition to the right has gotten more and more extreme in their efforts to ban abortion, and they are deeply out of step with Texas voters. I think that this poll clearly demonstrates just how far out of touch they are actually with the majority of Texans. Our nation was founded on the principles of consent of the governed. The people do not want the Republicans are pushing, and come November, Republicans are going to pay the price. Again, Texas, I think, is going blue. I think Texas is going blue now. My buddy, Mike Collier, would be the most powerful politician in Texas if he wins. The lieutenant governor here is more powerful than the governor in the state of Texas. And I think Mike Collier, my neighbor, is about to become the lieutenant governor of this great state of Texas to return, or now, to make it a great state. All right, let's see. Para ver qué más está aquí. I'd offer up, following from a Secular Talk Fro show, reading out a Vice News article. A woman in Wisconsin goes out of state in law to get an abortion. The procedure was botched where some of those tissues, let me see if I got under, where some of the tissue remained in the uterus. She went to the OBGYN to get the rest removed, but was denied because of the state's anti-abortion laws, saying such a procedure could only be done if her life was at risk. She was not at risk yet, but would likely go into deadly hemorrhage or sepsis. It would only be at that point that the abortion would be legally permissible. It is the first time in my life I was denied care by a medical professional, and that is arguably one of the most traumatic things a woman will ever go through. She said, I'm really angry, and I think it's the best way to put it. I have the fury and the rage towards the system that, listen, women are going out to vote, and they are going to be dumping Republicans justifiably left and right for being extremist. AVQ says, lots of artifacts on the video. I think the shirt color and the background are close in color. I think you are correct. But I wanted to sport my Netroots Nation, you know? Anyhow, Egberto, you should go to the dentist immediately. Well, actually, I did. The teledentist, and I'm getting the antibiotics. That's why I actually woke up this morning and did that immediately, because I know when infections get up into a gum, it can actually get into the bloodstream, turn into sepsis. So what I did, I went ahead and got my antibiotics, a lot of amoxicillin and heavy-duty pain medicine that aren't all that effective quite yet, but will be shortly. Artist Margaret and Law, welcome. I'd rather give birth. I'd rather give birth, LOL. Oh, I hear you, man. That's how bad teeth pain can be. So you know it. All right, Egberto, as long as you tell the truth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth. You got to put, look, I have some stuff that I got to put on my website from you, Tom. I'm so damn busy. I work in these different groups of work, right? I'll get a chance, and then I'll put all the stuff that I need to do from the third parties up onto the website. So it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Yvette Avery Herod says, may she rest in peace. Yeah, may she rest in peace. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But anyhow, Egberto, I have 3 separate dentists in my neighborhood. All of them have emergency access for toothaches. They'll come in front of you if you call. I might even ask you to end your show today and start calling. Actually, I called already. I promise. I called already, brother. Love you. I thank you for that concern. That's why I love my peeps, because you guys are great. We care about each other. We are a family here. Left, right, up, down, all that good stuff. Love you guys, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Eric Hayes says, observation, don't you wonder how much carbon emission are not used by switching to EV in California, all the while thinking how much carbon are burned changing up said EV? What is the net saving, renewable or look, Eric, you have me holding my head as my teeth hurts, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hoover, thank you. Hoover Dam, thank you. I'm going to tell you, Eric, stop trying to negate the necessity to move to EV and start being a solution to the problem. Stop trying to put up roadblocks for progress with questions that have already been answered by intelligent people, as opposed to the dumb ones that are trying to keep the status quo and keep you ignorant. Please, brother, please be a part of the solution. It's not all that difficult. My head hurts. All right, let's see. Hello, relatives from E2247. Today's visit will be the greatest ever visit. True? Rundin says, Boulder Dam, Lake Mead. Yeah, it's also Lake Mead. Eric Hayes says, Newsom asking California to do their part when it's their policy decision to have tampered with the state. Why not the politicians do their jobs. No, 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 no. Let's get something clear. If we didn't have supply side economics, if we didn't have Reaganomics, if we didn't, if since the empower, if since Reagan got empowered, the right wing didn't progressively work to make Americans dumber and dumber each Republican cycle, and not only Republican cycle, but in general, we would have already changed the world. Remember, Brother Carter, Jimmy Carter, he had foresight. He was being an example from the White House. He was working on two things. He was working on having a stopgap measure for the gap between fossil fuel and effective renewables, and he also had solar panels on his roof at the White House. If we had just continued on that path, it was called, by the way, syn fuels. They were turning, at first, carbon into oil, but also cellulosic energy, meaning you grow, you burn, and that growth again reabsorbs the carbon you burn, right? That's what our bodies do, right? We burn carbon to create the heat that we have in a chemical reaction, just like burning wood is a chemical reaction. So Carter had foresight. But then we got the troglodyte in Reagan that corporate America convinced to maintain his dumbness, and in so doing, not allowing us to have moved to renewable energy. So we are 30, when Carter was, that was 1979. How many years is that? We were placed 40 years behind. 40-something years behind because of right-wing policy of the uninformed, the right-wing policy of, when you think about the damage supply. And by the way, today, after this, I am taping with, and this one, the reason I hadn't come and say, hey, what should I ask, whatever, is I have, and I think I'll be playing it tomorrow. But today, I interviewed Tom Hartman on his book on neoliberalism. And we're going to touch on all of this and then come back to you. But Tom is my guide for interviewing today. Imagine if we had just continued on the path. We would have been the leaders in renewable energy. China being the premier maker of photovoltaic cells, in as much as they probably still would be, because you know what we do in America. We design the stuff and then we say we manufacture elsewhere at the expense of jobs in America. But we understand that corporate America cares nothing about the jobs of people. Corporate America cares nothing about human beings. They just care about making the mighty dollar for the select few. That's the definition of capitalism. Maximizing profits for a few. Actually, it says it creates the most efficient uses of resources. Of course, that's a lie. Efficient uses of resources would mean renewables, because again, after all, you're creating a perishable thing that later on would need some sort of a source to recover if you can. So it's a failure. I had a long conversation with my pharmacist today when I went to get my antibiotic. At first they denied the antibiotic for some reason, so I had to leave the drive-thru and go into the drugstore. And I started talking to the guy. He's from Sudan. And I said, it's amazing. I just spoke to my friend in Canada. And he said, when they have a procedure to be done, or they have asked for a medicine, or your primary gave you the medicine and prescribe, etc., there's never a question about cost. There's never a question about whether you're going to get the drug or not. It's just something that happens. The society as a whole looks at healthcare as a right and something that is humane that we all have as a country, as a society. In America, it is about money, and absolutely every section within our healthcare system is about money. So the guy then said, he's from Sudan, and he said, yeah, that's true, but you have to look at it another way too. And, and what I saw was a fairly a young pharmacist who got bit by the I can make a lot of money if I find some way within the healthcare system to make it. Because he then says, in my family, we have over 20 doctors, some in Canada, some in Sudan, some here. And the implication is that only the ones in the United States could really get super rich and wealthy. And you sit down and you think about it and you say, my God, the infection of wanting just money over everything else. And then I started talking to him and I said, who's more important, the teacher or the stockbroker or the business person? Who's more intelligent? He said the business person. Why? Because, he makes a lot of money. Then I stopped him there and I said, how did he get where he was? It was a teacher's all along his path that created that person. That's why I have such reverence for teachers, right? Because if we really wanted to see the value of folks for society and who should make the most in society, teachers would be up there on the list, and the capitalist, the guy who just moves around money, would be at the lowest end. He said, well, you have to remember that greed is actually going to let people create things. So my next question is, which very rich billionaire created anything? And then we find out that the rich billionaire really didn't create anything. They paid somebody to create something. So and that person who created something never became a billionaire. So we then, when you ask yourself the real questions, it turns out that the billionaires are not the ones who actually made anything, right? And the theory that you must have, that the reason we allow these humongous profits for these billionaires is to continue the creation of innovation, you realize that innovation occurred at a discount. Because the billionaire who pays others to create are paying them pennies on the dollars to create. I could go ahead and say create a different type of economic system that pay them a little bit more than pennies on the dollars, which would say that they'll still create without having to have the extractive nature of the billionaire. You see, even their arguments fall flat. Billionaires create nothing. It's the engineers that aren't paid billionaire wages that create something, which tells you do not require the billionaire for the creation. It is the design of our economic system that gives these guys power. It's the design of our economic system that devalues that which should be valued. And if we could only teach that to people, they would demand, and they will remove and take away what was stolen. Every dollar that billionaire has is a dollar that he didn't pay to those who created, to those who innovated. But that's not what our economic model says. And that is what is so important for us to understand. We cannot continue to buy into the fraud that is the economic system that enslaves people with a smile. Anyhow, continuing with your with the things that you guys are writing, we have Eric Hayes says, look like Turner getting mad at Dr. Young as he can't handle criticism. Dr. Young, are we talking about the Baptist minister that's a fraud, that takes your money for doing nothing as well, and likes to criticize others when he has a pedophilia problem in his own ministry of the Baptist ministry? He doesn't get a chance to criticize anybody. Ed Young is a buffoon. He has no right to criticize anybody. I would love to get into a debate with Ed Young. Let's talk about Christianity. There's a piece by, I should find it, in fact, I am going to find it. But anyhow, let's continue reading your notes, and then there are things. Remember to find AOC's, that phrase from AOC that I want to find. Where did I put it? I sent it somewhere. Maybe I emailed it to myself. I'll look for it in a little bit. All right, Lee Grant says, United Kingdom did do a number around the world, but they came up with cool stuff too, like the English language itself we all enjoy. It doesn't matter what language we enjoy. We could have enjoyed Spanish. We could have enjoyed anything else. So creating a language isn't all that exceptional. Their language is dominant because they were the dominant military power. That's why it's dominant. Bridge MCP says, hey, everyone, don't care about Queen 3, 2. Maybe Charles will be better at. I think the monarchy needs to be gotten rid of. It's ridiculous. It's a criminal enterprise because all the wealth that it has, we must remember, is stolen wealth. So all the billions that the monarchy has, whichever monarchy, whether it's in Holland or England or France or whatever the monarchy has, it's stolen from either the newly discovered lands by the Europeans or the invasion of India or whatever. That's where all of that was stolen from. Let's remember that. So when everybody, they're glorifying how great the Queen is and the lineage and all of that, for me it's like, why do I want, look, let me tell you first, the human part of me says this. I am so sad to hear that a loved one of someone else died. Okay? As a human being, not as a queen, not as a queen's kid. Just as a human being, I'm sorry to hear about that. Anytime you lose a loved one, if I lost a loved one, I know I would be getting a whole lot of condolences, and I give a sincere set of condolences to Charles and to all his kids. Yeah. But as far as glorifying us, how great this monarchy was and how great Elizabeth sat on top of a criminal enterprise. Why should I buy into the crap I'm watching on CNN? I had to turn it off. These were people that sent others to saqueo other lands. These were people who sent ships out to get gold that they didn't own. That is the lineage. And the same way they're praising this as being historic. It's coming from, we can talk about all these princes and all from the beginning. If you're going to talk about it from the beginning, let's talk about how they got their wealth. Let's talk about how they treated the commoners. Let's talk about all of that. Don't ask me to feel something for a monarchy. It makes no sense. That's a criminal enterprise. My God, it drives me, right? Because we would spend hours and times of magnitude attacking that poor kid who goes into a 7-Eleven and robs a candy bar. These people sent others to murder, rip off, pilfer, and it's like, oh, she was such a nice person. And then Diana went into Africa and she cleaned out the mines that the Western countries created and gave to those folks to fight each other. It's like we create the problem, then we go in to solve the problem we created. But too many people don't understand history and they buy into the fairy tale. They buy into like, we were created as a democratic nation or a democratic republic, everybody equal. No. Women weren't even people then. Let's learn together. Let's learn together. It's so important. Peggy Lopez says, hi all, DOJ appeals federal judge's ruling appointing a special master to review records. I didn't know that. Is that a breaking news? Or I had to turn the stuff off because they were talking so much about the monarchy. If I continued listening to the monarchy, I would have popped a vessel in my brain. All right. Eric says, no, negate, just realistic things that are both. Peggy Lopez says, I am a person who believes we need to remove all symbols of the past plunderers of the world. The symbols only keep some interested in continuing the plunder. And not only keep them interested in continuing the plunder, it normalizes the plunder, Lopez. Let's give an example. America likes to tell other countries, Iran, you must abide by the treaty you signed with us. They want to tell all these countries in the world, abide by these treaties. And they give the impression like we are better than you because if we sign a treaty, we are going to abide by the treaty. It's not only the Indian, the natives of the American land that see that's false. America will only acquiesce to a treaty if it ends up at the winning side of it somehow. In other words, they'll sign a treaty and they'll live by the treaty, but let's say you find oil or gas or gold or whatever there. They will break the treaty explicitly or implicitly. What is an explicit break in the treaty? They just said to hell with it. We're not abiding by the treaty because you did something that made us not want to abide by the treaty. That's an explicit not going with the treaty. Or implicitly, they create a coup in your country. They create a coup, overthrow, and it is like what they did to build the Panama Canal, right? The Lesseps, they wanted to build a treaty in Panama. Used to be Colombia. They wanted to build a canal through Panama, la parte más angosta the thinnest part of the whole continent, so they didn't have to dig all that much. And Colombia said, no, lo siento, no lo puede construir aquí, you can't build it here. Say, okay, no problem. So Roosevelt, I think it was, put a big ship in the Bay of Colón, that's the city that I'm from, and told the Panamanians from the province of Panama, hey, you guys want your independence? Take your independence. Colombia not going to mess with us. Okay, great. And then a French guy named de Lesseps signed something called the Bonavaria Treaty. Oh, we are going to lease 5 miles on either side of the canal in perpetuity and build the canal. And then the rest of the world uses it and we manage it. And we create a pseudo government right in the middle of Panama. So here's the funny part about a country, right? You had Panama at two ends, the country. In the middle, going through Panama, is a canal. On either side of that canal, 5 miles on either side of that canal, America, it was still Panamanian land, but Panamanians couldn't do a damn thing in there. In other words, there was no way anybody could do anything. So what happened there is we had an American-led government. It was called a Canal Zone government, right? That a federal judge from the United States ruled over. And it had its own police force, its own fire force. And all those forces used to be only Americans could have it. Later on, as things improved and people fought, my father got into the fire department, became the first Panamanian officer in the canal zone for the Panama Canal. In other words, he fought his way up and he became a fireman in the canal zone. And that was a coveted job because a fireman in Colón makes about 1/10 the amount that a fireman on the canal zone make, right? So, they were happy. He fought his way up to work. You work for the Americans, you make good money, right? But the technical thing was we created a mini country within a country. And then we paid peanuts. If you go off to Spain or to Paris, where we have little pieces of America in these countries, right? They pay a ton of money for rent of that little piece of land. Like if you have a base in China, in France, if you have a base in Portugal, that kind of a stuff. They paid Panama next to nothing. So, treaties, we talk about Iran breaking a treaty. Nobody breaks more treaties than we do. And we should start to realize the truths about all these things. All right, Carter, what a disaster. I think you should read. Carter should never have surrendered the Panama Canal Zone. Listen, I want you to listen to Lee Grant. Carter should have never surrendered the Panama Canal Zone. It's important to understand that statement. That statement is very important to understand. Listen to this. America created a coup in Central America, a land that wasn't theirs. Think about it. And here we have a brother, Lee Grant, saying, Carter should have never surrendered the Panama Canal Zone. It's ours. So that means you justify that we can go out and conquer. Lee Grant, is that what you're saying? We should be able to go out as Americans and conquer any land. I wonder how you're going to feel when China so outclasses us just by their sheer numbers and economic might, much of which we created by offshoring our industry to them, which means they know to build everything and we build little. Let's see how we feel here in America when another country decides to do those kinds of things to us. Let's see if we have the same way of thinking. Newsom is a corporate Dem. He is just running for president. He is not a good guy and will do as little as he needs to get voters on his side. Exactly right. I agree. Eric Hayes, Carter was the best president of my lifetime. Not only that, he was the most honest president of them all. It's the only president of the United States in the last century that didn't go to war. Look it up. Brother Carter, I love that guy. That guy is such an honest guy. That's the kind of president that would have taken us places if he had gotten reelected. Peggy Lopez, but not for capitalists, of course, although he's a capitalist himself, but just not an unfettered capitalist. Peggy Lopez says, Reagan elected in the early stages of Alzheimer's. He did not have to be convinced to be dumb. I love you, girl. Peggy Lopez says, second thought on DOJ appeal. They may simply codify with Trump court the ruling that has no basis in the law unless Biden expands the court. We've got to expand the court. It's almost something we've got to do now. All right, Egberto, they paid. I don't know what you're talking about. They paid. All right, let's see. Bruce Pollard says, let's hear it for my teacher's son. Bruce, your teacher's son is to be honored. Your teacher's son is one of the most important persons on this planet, in this country right now, because your son as a teacher, as somebody who decide he's going to expand the brains of thousands, he makes sure that society moves forward. It is teachers that do that. And all these executives and guys who make all this money, that's money that's undeserved. As an engineer, I made more money for a company than my executive boss. When I say executive boss, I mean the boss of my boss who's just sitting in an office moving paper. When I worked for Daniel Industries, let me just give you a quick story. I worked for Daniel Industries. That year, we created 5 products. 5 products, okay? I wrote the firmware, because these are things with firmware, for 4 of those 5 products. Michael and a few others did the hardware. And this was software controlling links and pipeline and that sort, valves and all that good stuff. That year, I worked for that company 1 year and 1 month. And then I quit because when it was time for a promotion, they passed me over and went and got a redneck out of Transco. I'm writing that in my book too. And then asked me to teach him the job. They weren't even ashamed to do that. Anyhow, 4 of the 5 products: stick, expander model, Solar Flow Plus. I don't remember what's the name of the other ones. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you here is this, brother. Well, let's move on. Michael says, Jimmy Carter was a president who accomplished a lot, by far the most important of which was his integrity, but who also faced strong headwinds. President Carter began the modern era of energy consciousness by creating the Department of Energy. President Carter began the modern era of human rights consciousness, shockingly pointing out that human rights abuses should be criticized. Exactly. And finish reading it, guys, but I won't. June Knitter says, labor made capital. June, you know what? I love you, girl, but you hit the nail on the head, sis. Tom C. says, independent state legislature theory in the GOP's interest attack on U.S. democracy by having gerrymandered legislature attempt to rig future federal election. All state South Carolina chief justices are opposed. Thank you, brother. Eric says the economic system gave Egberto what he has right, so not too bad of a system. Again, here's the funny thing about it. I actually gave up a lot for actually saying we need to change this system. I've used most of my damn retirement doing this because it's not yet break even. But I tell you what, happily doing so, and let me tell you why. I don't know about you guys, but anybody who have kids, the one thing I always think when I am thinking about kids is what are we leaving those kids? And I know when you're dead, but I don't know when you're dead. And why do I say that? When I see what we are, it's like what I told a young pharmacist today. I said our healthcare system is at the brinks of collapse. And when your healthcare system collapses, it creates a cascading effect down the line. He doesn't quite understand it quite yet. You know, he doesn't have the foresight, I don't think, yet. I told him I want to go to coffee with him, but to do that. But you got to understand this, brothers and sisters. If you're only living for today, like I can never just live for today. Look, you can go ahead and say make as much as you want. Then when you're done, you can go off to the Riviera and do all kinds of stuff, right? I will never be that person. I'll always be doing this kind of a stuff. Trying to make a better world. Because you know what? Whenever you look in that mirror and you start, and we all do it, we keep asking the question, why are things working like this? Why is this happening like that? Again, if you're doing that in a mirror, turn around and say at the same time, but what can I do? I'm asking what everybody else can do. Ask also, what can I do? And it's not, it is about being a change agent because it is required. If we hadn't had change agents all through history, I would still be in chains. A lot of people put themselves on the line. And whenever I start doing things, I always say the same. Some of us have to put ourselves on the line. And in that light, put yourself on the line, brothers, and buy my book. Buy my book. Let me put my little thing and support the show. Hey, that just kind of came organically. I love that. Here we go. Politics Done Right depends on you to keep doing what we do. What do? We make sure to keep, number one, the internet seeded with blogs and information to counter the right and to present what progressives represent for the benefit of us all to everybody so that it's not misread, misled by any other entity. We make sure and populate that internet with blogs, with videos, with all these other things to make sure that we are informed and to counter everything that you normally hear that are lying at the right. We also make sure to create articles in magazines, articles in newspapers all around the country to ensure, again, that our message gets out there. Last but not least, we also write books. As you see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, How to Make America Utopia, are two of the many books that I've written on these issues. So please support us in one of many ways. Numero uno, you can support us at PayPal, either one time or monthly. Go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can support us on Patreon. That is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. You can support us by becoming a part of our YouTube channel, going to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, or you can support us in many other forms that you can find at politicsdoneright.com/support. Be sure to visit our store, politicsdoneright.com/store, and get our books at politicsdoneright.com/books. Politics Done Right depends. All right, folks, so please support the show. Again, I just put, as I was talking, I put those links into the feed. We really can't do this without your support. We have to have your support to continue doing this. And all of you know that this is important work for us to prevent that plutocracy from completely and entirely eaten us alive. Let's see. Benito MCP says the commoners give 10% to support them. Yep. All right, Lee Grant says United Kingdom was responsible for major elements of Western culture like Shakespeare. Let's you know what? Here's the funny thing about that. And you're right, Lee Grant. The United Kingdom gave us Shakespeare, great literature, etc. You know why we look at that as great literature and not much else? Because that's all we know. Some people look at Shakespeare as great literature. By the way, I don't look at things like literature, Western literature, with much regard. Okay, and by the way, for those of you who love Shakespeare and all that kind of a literary stuff, that is great. It's just like I like salsa music, I like reggae music. You like Shakespeare art. I don't like that, but it's a matter of taste. But that you got great stuff like Shakespeare. What is the great stuff from Asian culture that you don't have a clue what it is? What are great stuff from different African cultures? And notice I said African cultures and Asian cultures, because none of these are monolithic, just like how you don't have a monolithic European culture. Okay? So you know about Shakespeare, but there's most of the world that you don't know about. So when you talk about, whenever people talk about the great stuff in Western culture, because Western culture is the dominant militarily and economically in a capitalist system, it disregards everything that was created in all these other cultures. And ironically, when capitalists go abroad and see something, they try to take that other culture and capitalize on it. Let's see what you've done in Peru and taking a whole lot of stuff from Peru, bring it to the United States and capitalize on it. I mean, so there are a lot of great cultures out there. If instead of trying to capitalize on your culture and others' culture, we just go ahead and love and love whatever we love in other cultures and hate whatever we hate in other cultures, it would be fine. Because I can tell you one thing, people talk about Western cuisine, right? Western cuisine and Western this. You know what cuisine I love? I love Caribbean cuisine. I love indigenous cuisine that makes up what the Caribbean food is much better than I prefer anything that's called, put it bluntly, all that expensive food that you'll buy in Italian restaurants or French restaurants or whatever. My wife and I kind of argue about this because I told my wife her palate is directly proportional to the price of the food. If somebody brings her a plate and say, "Oh, that is caviar and it has the most exquisite thing," and she tastes it, she say, "Oh yeah, that's kind of nice, good." Man, you bring me some fufu with some gravy or some green plantain mashed with some bacon in it, or all these different foods that are ethnic foods to Americans, but the kind of foods we eat in the Caribbean and Latin America, that flavor is much better for me than sitting down in a 5-star French restaurant with all these different pieces coming to you that, generally speaking, to me, and this is just to me, everybody have different palates, but to me it's pretty damn bland, right? Our flavor profile is a lot different than, let's say, a French flavor profile. And I am not enamored with a French flavored profile, except French bread. I love French bread, but I prefer hojaldas. Hojaldas is our type of fried breads, right? So just saying that the statement that Lee Grant made when he says United Kingdom is responsible for giving us great elements, Western culture, Shakespeare. I don't give a damn about Shakespeare, but you may do, and I don't hold that against you. In fact, if you like Shakespeare, great. I don't. It is that simple, folks. It is that simple. It is that simple. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. My daughter just texted me a joke that she read on live. Somebody told a friend, "Hey, the Queen died today." And the person said, "Latifah is dead?" I just thought that was funny. Okay. Emma Becker says, "So does our current corporate system and the FBI, CIA, so we're not much different than the monarchy." Hey, girl. You are such a smart woman, Emma Beckers. It's all in the way the societies operate, right? And by the way, I attack the power structure within the Western culture, but it's no different than I would attack it in the African culture, the Asian culture, because if you look at what they do in China, the kind of way they take control and control folks, it's no different. Same that you do in Africa with in Nigeria, and when what's his name, even Lovedo was the president, and I mean it's the powerful kind of do the same, and they figure out which system is working for them. Like right now, the best extractive system is capitalism, and guess what? All the world's major countries are following capitalism to the core, much better than we are. Putin, this guy looked at me and said, we were talking. He said, "Who do you think is what do you think about Putin?" I said, "He's one of the best capitalists there are." What do you think about the president of China, Xi? Best capitalist there is. We have they have taken these. We have some democracy, and democracy allows us to temper capitalism somewhat. But in China and Putin in Russia, they have no clue with capitalism, no clue, and they do as much as they want. Whoa! Look at all the comments. Okay, let's get busy. Bridget is saying, hey, lots of comment. Okay, I better get to the comments, right? I better get to the comments. Okay, let's go ahead. Egberto, some conservatives believe that there is such a thing as unjust hierarchy, them on top, everyone else to the bottom. That's what they believe. Bream says, not the United Kingdom that includes stolen countries like mine. Britain, Irish writers, James Rice, Oscar Wilde, W.B. Yeats, C. Lovett. Hey, true. Daniel Ledo says, the British built the modern global civilization. It sounds like Egberto have preferred China, and that's a joke. When you talk about the British built the civilization, the British was good at copying everything. Go into London right now and see what's a major cuisine these days. I am not listening to the monarchy except through a filter that I do here. Just saw a word that brings a click out of my sight. Peggy Lopez. Lee Grant says, he is so easily dismissed Western culture. Most progressives do. No, we don't. That's not at all. You like to say Western culture. I call it culture. The British stole other countries, conquered them. The Celts did as well, but the difference in the Celts merged with them, didn't rule them and steal them like they had. Bridge MCP. Thank you, my dear, beautiful Bridge. Peggy Lopez says, I know all that stuff. I just like listening to you tell the lengthy necessary stories. Thank you, my beautiful Peggy Lopez, for indulging me. But not that you are very, very smart, and you are very, very informed. A lot of people now are not necessarily as informed or as smart. A casual gamer says, "Don't worry, guys. Lizzie will clutch the gulag." Daniel Ledo says, "So you are saying the Celts killed the man, raped the woman, but then held those women in forced servitude and settled on stolen farms? Somewhat there seems better." Oh, Lord, help me, please. Breach MCP says, no, didn't say that. No, you didn't, Breach. Princess Elizabeth was a driver and mechanic in World War II, women's branch of the British Army, of rank of female equivalent to a male captain. All veterans of that war deserve our greatest regard. Just saying. I am sorry to disagree with you on this point, E2247. As the monarch, she was just playing a role. I guarantee you she would have never gotten hurt, because that was just a prop. She was a prop then. All right, Lee Grant, demonstrating an imperialist mindset. I'm guessing he doesn't know the history. Actually, my dear sir, I do know the history. Bridge MCP says, yes, E2247, the woman was good. Her government is bad. Low the sinner, but not the sin. E2247 says, YT4M says, Jimmy Carter was one of the best. I agree. Daniel Ledo says, tell us more about that wonderful enlightened Celts of which you speak. Oh, you got somebody that's giving you a hard time. June Hartman says, Tom Hartman. Yes, I interviewed Tom Hartman right after this show today. Daniel Ledo says, Daniel, I always treat you with respect, but with this subject. Oh, Bridge, you are so bad. All right, Daniel Ledo says, oh, Jimmy Carter was one of the best as far as I'm concerned. He still is to this day. I mean, this guy, I've never seen such a good-spirited guy and somebody that has done so much. And, I mean, he has done so much more as ex-president than any other president, bar none. All right, let's see. What else we got here? What else? Whoa, we still have some messages here. Bree says, Daniel is making me argue about a subject he knows nothing about. I bought into it, but stopped enough for that, like giving medicine to the dead. There you go. There you have to know when to call it in. That's why I wrote the book. It's worth it. You got to use some of those techniques on Daniel Ledo. It won't work with Daniel specifically, but for those listening to your discussion with Daniel, it definitely will. Let's see. Emma Becker says, those that deny history, embrace conspiracy, not only make themselves look like a fool, but society as a whole at risk. Put society as a whole at risk. Those that cannot learn from history are doomed to repeat it, which they always do. Javelin Kablinski, welcome aboard. What about this queen? She was Western. Which queen are we talking about? I am not into the queen, but I know you meant something. I like Bergen. I don't know who Berger is. Maybe I need to study some more. British MCP, so glad Egberto Willies understands the points I make and world history, not like some here, clueless. Bridge, look, first of all, you're a teacher, Bridge. So you know you're in very high regards, just like brother Bruce Pollard's son. I have so much regards for teachers. Let's see. E2247 says, go Ashley. You mean Ashley wrote something in here that I didn't see? Is Ashley on here with us? Ashley, if you're still in the house, drop a line so I can see. All right, let's see what we got here. Egberto, what? That joke seems to have spread virally as a hoax. Media mass. News of singer Queen Latifah's death spread quickly earlier today, causing concern among fans across the world. However, the September 2027 reports has now been confirmed as a complete hoax and just the latest in a string of fake celebrity deaths. I know. Lee Grant says, I used to teach 8th graders. Some of them told me how they did not like Shakespeare just like you. Why should somebody like Shakespeare? I don't know why, right? You know, that he's a storyteller and he has a way with words in English. Does it impress me? No, I like A is equal to MC squared. I like 1/2 MT, MC delta T. I'm an engineer. Those are the formulas and the words that I like, right? The heat transfer, 1/2 VH squared, VT squared, potential energy, MVH, potential energy, or rather MH, whatever. That's what I like. Egberto Willies Celts is pronounced with the K. Celts. Forgive me, Breeze. Didn't I tell you that I do this program to also learn from my peeps? Thank you for correcting me. Celts. Celts. Celts is not Celts, it's Celts. Even though they do call it the Celtics, not the Celtics. But I learned. DOJ has filed a notice of appeal to Judge Cannon's order on Mar-a-Lago. I'm glad they did. That's okay, babes, at Egberto. You know I love you, Breach. YT4ME57 says, as an example of the useless nature of hereditary monarchy, look at who is stopping into Elizabeth's shoes right now. A buffoon. Thank you so kindly for pointing that out. YT4ME57. E2247 appeals to the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit Court from order of the District Court entered on September 5th, 2022. Docket entered 64. We're at the end of the show, and I got to go prepare. I think I start with Tom at 4:30, so I need to get out of here. I want to thank all of you for listening to the program. I could not do this without you. I once again want to ask you to please go out there and buy the different copies of my book to help the program, but also to get good information and learn. So you can go to politicsandright.com/books. Thank you for being here, Brother Rudnin. And also, please provide whatever form of support you can. You can just go to politicsandright.com/support. Or if you want to go directly to PayPal, we take that. In fact, we take that in the form of either single or monthly. politicsandright.com/PayPal. politicsandright.com/PayPal. My name is Egberto Willis. Thank you so kindly for being here. You know I love you all. Left, right, up, down, all of you. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes We the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.